What if the true difference between those who win once and those who win forever isn't talent, luck, or timing, but consistency? Steady, everyday effort sharpens your mind, builds strong habits, and compounds your success over time. It's not about intensity, it's about repeatability. The real power comes when you keep going, even when no one is watching. That's where strength is forged. Stay sharp. Stay in motion. That's the foundation of champions and the key to creating lasting legacies. In the next few moments, I'll show you how to master consistency so you can keep going, stay sharp, and win forever. You don't need more time. You need more rhythm. Many people believe that success requires massive blocks of free time. Days, hours, weekends. But greatness doesn't belong to those waiting for perfect conditions. It belongs to the person who builds rhythm into their life. Daily, deliberate, disciplined rhythm. What builds a legacy isn't rare moments of greatness, but the consistent performance over time. Rhythm is what turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. You don't grow a mighty oak by pouring water on it once a month. You water it every day, small, steady efforts stacked on top of each other without fail. How do you build this rhythm? You set your hour. You protect your time. You move even when you don't feel like it. You don't negotiate with excuses. You become a person of action, not feelings. A person of timing, not delay. Picture this: a person with just 1 hour each day. They light their lamp before dawn, the same time every morning. Their neighbors are asleep, but they build, word by word, thought by thought, brick by brick. Months pass, and suddenly they're called a genius. But here's the truth. You know they weren't born with some special gift. They were consistent. So ask yourself, do you need more time, or do you need to honor the time you already have? What could your life become if you claimed the first hour of each day with sacred intensity? The person who keeps going always wins. It's not always the fastest person who wins the race. Often, it's the one who simply never stops running. You've seen it. People who are talented and start strong only to vanish, while the quiet worker, steadily focused, becomes the one who lasts. Why does this matter? Because most people crumble under monotony. They search for inspiration, but run from repetition. But greatness thrives in repetition. You don't become unbeatable because you're brilliant. You become unbeatable because you're unbreakable. You become this person by deciding that your steps matter more than your sprints. You stop chasing moments of magic and start crafting hours of mastery. You commit to your goal even when no one is watching, even when results are slow. Now picture two craftsmen. One waits for motivation. The other shows up every day, sharpens his tools, and gets to work. Days pass, progress is slow, but then the second person's name starts spreading. People say he's talented. No, he's consistent. Which one are you becoming? Are you waiting to feel ready? Or are you building no matter what? The person who keeps going wins, not just the race, but the respect. And respect, earned over time, is worth far more than applause. Sharpen daily, or risk growing dull without even realizing it. Every blade, no matter how finely crafted, loses its edge when left unused. Your mind, your most powerful weapon, is no different. It doesn't stay sharp from loyalty alone. It doesn't freeze in excellence. It dulls, not in loud, noticeable ways, but quietly, subtly, until one day you reach for your edge, and it's gone. You may think you're maintaining your level just by coasting, but life doesn't offer stillness. It only offers motion. You are either sharpening or sliding. There is no pause button in the pursuit of mastery. This is why daily sharpening is essential, not optional. The world doesn't wait. Success doesn't reward those who show up late to readiness. It rewards those who stay ready. The ones who do the invisible work before the visible battle. The ones who train not for applause, but for advantage. Daily refinement isn't some grand spectacle. It's not about fireworks or fanfare. It's quiet and consistent. You read a page of a book and wrestle with the idea. You revise your goals. You reflect. You revisit a skill. You ask better questions. It doesn't look heroic, but it is, because it's deliberate. And from that deliberation, strength is born. Think of the old warrior who rises before dawn. He doesn't know if battle will come today, but he polishes his sword anyway, tests its balance, sharpens the edge, because when that call comes, he will not stumble. He will swing with precision, not panic. The same is true for your mind, your spirit, your talent. You cannot afford to wait until life tests you to begin preparing. You must already be prepared. That's how you rise when others fall. That's how you act when others freeze. Look around. How many people are living off yesterday's strength, clinging to an old reputation, relying on talent they haven't touched in years? They don't realize their edge is dulled. They don't feel the slide until it's too late. Then, when sharpness is needed, it's gone. But you can choose differently. Ask yourself, have I sharpened today? Not in a grand way, but in any way. Did you stretch your mind? Reinforce a habit? Challenge your weaknesses? Prepare? Because every small action of sharpening builds a reserve, a mental armory. And when the storms come, and they will, you won't scramble. You will respond. Clean, calm, sharp. So don't wait for the fight to find you. Sharpen now, quietly, daily, relentlessly. Your edge is your responsibility. Keep it ready. Your results will be boring before they become brilliant. The beginning is quiet, awkwardly quiet. You rise early, you work late, you write the sentence, lift the weight, speak the idea, and nothing happens. No applause, no recognition, no visible proof that what you're doing is working. That silence, that's where most people quit. Because we've been taught that results should come quickly, that effort should always be followed by reward. But the truth is, in the early days, effort was invisible. It hides beneath the surface. It builds roots before it shows fruit. You plant the seed, but nothing breaks the soil. You post the video, and no one watches. You launch the idea, and it falls flat. You give your best, and the world doesn't even blink. But this is the test. This is where it's decided who will rise and who will retreat. Because results don't shout at first, they whisper. They test your faith. They ask, can you keep showing up without applause? Can you stay consistent when the scoreboard says 0? Most people can't. They stop digging just before they strike gold. They pull the plug on the project when it's 1 inch away from blooming. Why? Because they can't stomach the silence. But you must be different. You must learn to embrace the silence and understand what it really means. It means you're early. Not wrong, not failing, just early. So, how do you stay on course when no one is watching? You keep records, not of wins, but of work. You track your consistency. You celebrate the effort, the showing up, the discipline. You anchor your worth in the process, not in praise. And you embrace the law of compounding. You understand that today's unseen effort is tomorrow's breakthrough. Like the farmer in spring, he doesn't dig up his seeds in doubt. He doesn't stop watering just because the field still looks barren. He knows what's happening beneath the surface. Roots are forming. Foundations are being laid. And when the time is right, the green will emerge. Not because he did more, but because he never gave up. Can you handle that kind of boredom? The kind that feels like spinning your wheels with no visible movement? Can you keep watering the soil when nothing rises to thank you? If you can, you are already rare. And if you persist, you will become unstoppable. Because everyone wants the fruit, but few are willing to wait for the roots. So, stay steady. Show up. Plant again. Water again. Let the silence prove your strength. The sprout is coming. Build before you're ready, or you'll never start. The world is full of people who waited. They waited for clarity, for courage, for the timing to feel just right. They waited for approval, for savings to pile up, for signs to come from above or from within. And now, years later, they are still waiting. Wiser, perhaps, but no closer. Because readiness is a myth, a sedative, dressed in reason. It lulls people to sleep and whispers, "Not yet." But the truth is this: you don't become ready before the leap. You become ready by leaping. Why must you begin now? Because motion breathes life into vision. Action creates momentum, and momentum births belief. Confidence isn't something you're given. It's something you earn. Each small step, every unfinished attempt, every broken try, it all becomes evidence. And evidence turns into power. You don't think your way into courage. You act your way into it. There will never be a day when all the lights turn green. Never a moment when the fears vanish completely. Never a time when the inner critic stays quiet long enough for peace to take hold. You must go anyway. You must walk into the wind, not wait for it to calm. Because the person who waits for perfect conditions becomes perfectly nothing. You start where you are, with what you have. You write with broken pencils. You train with rusty tools. You speak while your voice still trembles. You build even when you don't yet believe in the strength of your own hands, because forward motion, even if clumsy, is superior to polished hesitation. Picture a person standing before a rickety wooden bridge. It sways with every gust of wind. The boards creak beneath the weight of possibility. Behind them stands a crowd of cautious souls, all waiting for the storm to pass. But storms don't wait. Neither does destiny. And so, they step forward slowly. Not because they're fearless, but because they refuse to be ruled by fear. Each footstep is a declaration. I will not live on the shore of hesitation. They reached the other side, not because the bridge was safe, but because they were willing to cross. And when they reach the other side, they don't wave from afar. They build a better bridge for those who follow. Their courage becomes the compass, and their motion becomes the map. Are you that person? Or are you still waiting for more money, more skills, more time, more applause? Are you waiting for your doubts to quiet before you speak? For comfort before you act? For guarantees before you dare? The truth is harsh, but freeing. You become the person you seek by moving now, not later. You don't outgrow fear, you outpace it. You don't wait for strength, you build it in motion. And you don't stumble into your calling by chance. You walk into it by choice. The longer you wait, the heavier hesitation becomes. But the moment you leap, even unprepared, you shatter the illusion of perfect timing. You learn to swim only after you dive. So ask yourself right now, are you waiting for conditions to change? Or are you ready to become the kind of person who builds in the storm? Destiny has no patience for the person who delays, but it rewards the one who dares. Move before the world forgets. You waited. Discipline is the silent engine of destiny. You've seen them, people full of ambition. Their words are bold, their dreams massive, their visions big enough to stir a crowd. But when you look closer, something's missing, something crucial. They've got desire, but no discipline. Without discipline, even the brightest dreams will dim. Without it, your vision turns to vapor. Hope becomes a haze. You talk about the life you want, but never touch it, because you lack the daily fire to bring it to life. Discipline isn't the type of fire that roars in public. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't boast. It builds quietly, relentlessly. While the world chases comfort and convenience, the disciplined person is already moving, already training, already choosing what matters over what tempts. There's a reason some rise and others stall. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's not raw intelligence. It's the ability to govern yourself when no one is watching, to become your own commander, to answer to your future, not your feelings. You want to win? Then discipline your time. Turn hours into tools. Turn mornings into momentum. Discipline your words. Speak less. Mean more. Keep your promises, especially the ones you make to yourself. Discipline your habits, because your habits are the architecture of your destiny. Every action is a brick, and you're either building a palace or a prison. How do you build this kind of discipline? Through decisions. Not just once, but again and again. Every morning when the alarm rings and you rise without complaint, that's a decision. Every time you say no to the easy road without needing anyone to applaud, that's a decision. When you do what must be done, especially when you don't feel like it, that's where greatness is born. Discipline is not a one-time act. It's a system, a rhythm, a way of life. It's brushing your teeth even when you're tired. It's showing up for your goals when your motivation is gone. It's preparing the soil even when the harvest is far away. That's what separates those who try from those who build. Picture a person. Every morning, they wake up at 5 a.m. Not because they have to, but because they want to. They're on a mission. No one sees it. No one cheers for them. They move through their routine in silence. But make no mistake, something is building. A fortress rising one repetition at a time, 1 hour at a time. Their progress may be invisible today, but soon people will look up and ask, how did they do it? And they'll know that it was done in the hours everyone else wasted. Because success doesn't come in a flash. It comes in fragments, stacked one after another. Repetition is the real revolution, and routine is the forge where destiny is shaped. So ask yourself, what are you building in your quiet hours while others sleep in? Are you preparing while others watch TV? Are you studying while others complain? Are you creating? Or are you still waiting for motivation to carry you? Unaware that discipline is the true engine of progress, you do not rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your discipline. And that's both a warning and a gift, because it means your future isn't determined by fate or talent. It's determined by what you choose to repeat. In your to the end, no one will remember your ideas. They'll remember your impact. And impact is made by those who are consistent, who keep going, who rise again and again while the world offers 1,000 excuses. This is your edge. This is your power. Your discipline is your differentiator. In a world full of noise, it makes you silent and unstoppable. So now the question is this: are you letting the world shape you, or are you shaping yourself? Brick by brick, in the fire of your own routine, because your future is being built. The only question is, by who? The person who trusts their path walks further. Doubt is a thief, but not the kind that announces its arrival with noise and drama. No doubt it works quietly. It slips into your mind before the day even starts. It doesn't steal with force. It steals with questions, little ones, persistent ones. The kind that makes you pause when you should be moving. The kind that makes you second-guess what you once felt deeply. Doubt doesn't take your body. It takes your belief. And soon, your fire dies before the day even begins. You've felt it. You've stood at the edge of a good idea, only to let doubt pull you back. You've crafted plans only to watch them collect dust, because you questioned your ability to follow through. And so, days pass, then months, then years, not for lack of ambition, but for lack of trust. Here's the truth. Talent is nothing without trust in yourself, and doubt will always delay what you were meant to start. But there's something stronger than doubt, something deeper. Trust. Trust is not blind. It doesn't ignore the obstacles, the struggle, or the unknowns, but it keeps moving anyway. Trust is in your direction. It's in your purpose, not in the absence of struggle, but in the presence of belief. The person who trusts their path walks farther than the person who questions every step. You don't build that trust by thinking positively or waiting for inspiration. You build it by moving. You build it every time you follow through on your word. Every time you do what you promised, even when no one is watching, even when it's hard, you reinforce the message that you are someone worth believing in, and that belief becomes your foundation. Over time, something shifts. You no longer hope that you're capable. You no longer wish you could be the kind of person who follows through. You know it, because you've seen yourself do it again and again. You've made a habit out of action. You've replaced hesitation with momentum. You've shown up enough times to make trust the natural response, not the exception. It doesn't matter if the rewards haven't come yet. It doesn't matter if the world hasn't noticed. The change is happening inside. And that change, the strengthening of your trust in yourself, is what will carry you through seasons when nothing else will. Imagine a traveler on a long and grueling journey up a mountain. The path is steep, the air thin, and the fog is so dense that at times they can barely see a few feet ahead. But still, they keep moving. They don't question the summit every few steps. They don't demand a new map just because the terrain is tough. They walk. They rest. They walk again. And with each step, their belief in reaching the peak grows stronger. Not because they see it, but because their feet keep carrying them forward. You must become that person. Move forward as though the destination is already there, even if it's not in sight. Act as though your mission is real, because it is. If you wait to believe until everything is clear, you'll never move. And if you stop to reconsider your path every time it gets difficult, you'll never reach your goal. Trust is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Without trust, you remain stuck, trapped between who you are and who you could be. But when you develop trust, when you build it through consistent action, you unlock a quiet power. You stop seeking validation. You stop explaining yourself. You simply move forward. So now the question is this: do you trust the path you've chosen? Or do you undermine your progress with constant second-guessing? Do you walk with purpose? Or do you wait for permission to start? The person who trusts their journey walks further, not because the road is easier, but because they no longer doubt that every step counts. Trust the climb. Even when it's steep, even when it's lonely, even when you can't see the summit yet, walk as though it matters. Because it does. When you keep score, you keep growing. Without a ledger, it's easy to forget your effort. You forget the long nights, the early mornings, the quiet sacrifices no one saw. You begin to convince yourself you're not doing enough. Or worse, you tell yourself you're doing more than you really are. But the truth is, without a record, you're guessing. And someone who guesses their progress walks in circles because they have no direction. Tracking progress isn't vanity. It brings clarity. It doesn't make you obsessed with numbers. It makes you honest. Your ledger is not for others to see. It's for you to face. You track progress not to impress, but to adjust. Success isn't found in trying hard. It's found in refining what you do. And refinement begins with measurement. Everyone has felt that fog, the frustration of working hard but not seeing results. It's easy to get stuck in that trap when you have no tangible proof of progress. But when you start recording your efforts, your time, your habits, your results, you create a map that shows where you've been, how far you've come, and where you need to improve. Start simple. Grab a notebook, not a fancy app or tool that distracts you. Just a plain book. You open it and begin to write. Today, 3 hours of focused work, 10 pages read, 1 workout completed, promise kept. Woke up at 5 a.m. Don't judge. Don't embellish. Just write the truth. Over time, that truth becomes your foundation. The moment you begin tracking, you stop lying to yourself. No more illusions about discipline when the numbers don't align. No more pretending you're stuck. When the pages show you're growing, the gaps become clear, and so does the growth. You gain power not from perfection, but from precision. You stop working aimlessly and start working with intention. Imagine a mason building a wall. Each day, he lays bricks. The wall is invisible to others, just brick after brick. If he doesn't count them, if he never steps back to measure, the process feels endless. He feels behind, incomplete. But when he counts, when he sees the wall rising inch by inch, that knowledge fuels him. He realizes that progress, though slow, is real. And real progress keeps him coming back each day. Your ledger is your mirror, and mirrors don't lie. When you skip your routine, the blank space on the page reminds you. When you show up day after day, the filled pages prove it. It becomes harder to quit when your own history is staring back at you, page after page of effort. And that history becomes your momentum. It shows you what you've built and what's left to do. But too many people give up too soon. Not because they failed, but because they couldn't see how far they had come. They never kept track, so their effort faded into nothing. The wall was halfway built, but they turned back, thinking nothing had changed. What if your next breakthrough is just one page away? One more day, one more set, one more session of focused work. But you quit because you didn't measure how close you were? Tracking your progress makes your efforts visible, and what you can see, you can strengthen. You'll start to notice your patterns. You'll see which days you're winning, what hours you thrive, which habits are working, and which aren't. You'll become a strategist, not just a worker. It's not about perfection. It's about presence, showing up with awareness, not assumptions. That awareness sharpens your decisions, and sharpened decisions change your direction. So ask yourself, have you been keeping track, or have you let your work slip into forgetfulness? Have you built a habit of tracking your progress, or have you relied on memory, hoping it would carry the weight of your ambition? You don't rise by accident. You rise brick by brick, decision by decision, line by line. Write it down, measure it, honor it. Let your ledger become your quiet weapon in a noisy world. And when you feel lost, open that book, see the work. Remember, the climb and keep building. Others may stop, but you must not. Most people start strong. At first, the fire was fresh. The motivation burns bright. The vision is clear. You see people setting goals, making plans, charging forward with excitement. But life doesn't honor enthusiasm alone. It tests it. It throws storms at it. And soon, you'll see who's real, who's committed, who's built to last. Our retreats, early crowd begins to thin. Not because they didn't want it, but because they couldn't endure. Hardship doesn't knock politely. It crashes in. It tests your patience, passion, and persistence. It asks one question. Will you keep going when it's no longer exciting? Many won't. They falter. They blame others. They wait for better conditions. They tell themselves they'll start again when the timing is right. But delay becomes a detour. And the detour, never. But not you. You must not stop, because your pace may be the only one carrying your legacy forward. Your footsteps might be the only ones keeping the road open for those who come after you. You're not running a race against others. You're fulfilling a calling that's meant for you. No one else can finish it. No one else will pick it up if you drop it. This journey demands more than talent. It demands endurance. You must rise above the noise, outwork the distractions, outperform the doubt that creeps in when you're tired and no one is watching. You must become the person who keeps going when everyone else fades away. Not because it's easy, but because you remember why you started. You don't treat your work as a hobby. You make it a vow. You don't dabble. You devote. This is not optional. This is a commitment, like a soldier reporting for duty. No matter the weather, no matter the fear, you report to your mission. Rain or shine, storm or sun, the work continues because the work is who you are. Imagine a runner on a long, winding road. At first, the crowd was thick. Everyone full of adrenaline, jokes, smiles, and high spirits. But as the miles stack up, something changes. The sun rises higher. Their breath shortens. The legs grow heavy. One by one, they slow down. They fall. Behind, they stop. Some sit on the roadside. Others turn back. The road grows quiet. But one person keeps running, not because they feel strong, but because they remember the finish line. They see it clearly, even when it's out of sight. That vision keeps them moving forward. That vision sets them apart. Where are you on the road? Have you let the fading crowd affect your pace? Are you moving slower because they did? Have you paused your pursuit because others gave up on theirs? This is where most people falter. Not because they couldn't win, but because they stopped running. They lost their rhythm. They lost their reason. They waited for others to join them on a path that was never meant to be crowded. The ones who win aren't always the fastest. They are the ones who finish. The ones who push through the silence, the soreness, the solitude. And here's the truth. The further you go, the lonelier it gets. But that's where your strength is forged. In the lonely mile, in the final laps, in the silent victories that no one else sees. So, let the crowd thin. Let the noise fade. Let others take a pause if they must. But you keep running. You don't need applause. You don't need company. You need conviction. You need to remember that your mission matters, even if no one else is watching, even if no one else is running beside you. Because your legacy doesn't depend on how loudly you start, but on how long you last. The person who endures becomes the one others remember. The person who keeps going becomes the reason others believe. So ask yourself right now, will you be one of the many who started, or one of the few who finished? Run, even when it's hard, even when you're alone, even when your breath is shallow and your legs ache. Run, because your purpose is ahead. And it's waiting for the person who refused to stop. The person who honors their time commands their life. Time is not something you manage. It's something you command. The person who learns to command time doesn't just get more done. They become more. Time isn't just minutes on a clock. Its potential is in motion. It's the raw material from which you build your destiny. To waste time is not merely inefficient. It's destructive. It steals not just opportunities, but power. Time, once gone, never returns. There are no refunds, no second chances, only consequences. Most people treat time like it's infinite. They waste mornings in delay, trade afternoons for distractions, and give their nights to noise. They assume there will always be more. But life doesn't promise more. It promises now. And now slips away with every passive choice. That's why the person who honors time, who treats every hour like sacred ground, stands apart. They move differently. They speak deliberately. They choose wisely because they know that how they use their time shapes who they become. To command your time, you must decide what matters. Not vaguely, not someday, but daily. You identify the few actions that propel your life forward and guard them like treasures. You don't just try to work. You carve out hours like a sculptor shaping stone. Each block of time is protected. Each task measured. Each interruption was challenging. Every minute spent with purpose builds momentum. It compounds like interest on an investment. Small, consistent deposits create something massive over time. But every minute lost to TV, reacting or drifting, it subtracts. It dulls your edge. It erodes your ambition. You cannot build a legacy on leftovers. You build it on priority. The path to mastering time begins with discipline. That doesn't mean packing your schedule with endless tasks. It means deciding in advance what matters and doing it, whether you feel like it or not. You set fixed hours, sacred routines, and clear goals. You wake up not just to exist, but to build. You create boundaries around your attention. You train your body and mind to respond to your command, not the world's demands. Because here's the truth. The person who responds to every interruption lives in reaction. Their day is stolen. One message, one distraction, one pointless meeting at a time, and they end their day wondering where the time went. But the person who protects their schedule lives with intention, they finish the day knowing exactly what was built, what was accomplished, and what was won. Imagine a builder with a blueprint. He has a plan, a timeline, a purpose. As people walk by with their opinions, distractions, and noise, he doesn't change his design to please them. He stays true to the plan. He watches the clock, not out of anxiety, but with respect. And when the month ends, his structure stands. Not because he rushed, but because he controlled his time. Now ask yourself, have you been letting time lead you? Or are you leading your time? Do you wake up with clarity or with confusion? Are your days designed by intention, or are they dictated by whatever comes your way? Because time doesn't slow down for your indecision. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It moves relentlessly and only respects those who respect it. You don't have to be perfect, but you must be precise. Start small. Set sacred hours for deep work. Define your daily non-negotiables. Silence distractions during your peak focus times. Say no more often. Watch how things shift. You'll feel more alive, not by working harder, but by working smarter. When you treat your time as a sacred instrument of your future, it transforms you. Your life starts to take shape. Your confidence grows. Your results multiply, not because of luck, but because of self-leadership. And it all begins with how you manage a single day. So take the clock in your hands, not as a burden, but as a tool. Command it, shape it, honor it, and it will shape you. Mastery belongs to those who repeat without excuses. Mastery is not magic. It's not a divine gift given to the lucky few. It's not reserved for prodigies or those born with talent. Mastery belongs to those who show up again and again, not for applause or recognition, but because they own their craft. They understand that excellence isn't born from inspiration alone. It's born from consistent effort, repeated day after day. The person who masters their craft isn't always the smartest. Often, they are the quietest. While others chase after every new idea, every shiny object, they dig deep. They choose depth over novelty. They embrace the repetition that others avoid. While the world praises talent, they learn to praise consistency because they know this truth. The world eventually bows to the one who refuses to stop showing up. Mastery isn't about doing many things well. It's about doing one thing deeply, repeatedly, without distraction or dilution. It's about removing everything that doesn't matter, until only the essential remains. Then, you do that essential thing with precision, day after day, until it becomes second nature, until your actions flow without thought, until your work speaks louder than words. You don't chase mastery, you build it. Your repetitions are the building blocks. The countless times you swing the hammer, write the sentence, lift the weight, play the scale, those are the visible actions. But it's the silence, your refusal to broadcast your progress, your patience with obscurity, that is the glue. And holding it all together is your belief. Your belief in the process, in the importance of the basics, and in the understanding that the glory isn't found by skipping steps, but in carefully walking through every single one. Picture a pianist. He rises before dawn. He sits at the keys. The room is cold. The light is dim. He doesn't play a song or perform. He practices a scale over and over. Each finger movement is deliberate, each note measured. His friends ask why he isn't composing new music, why he isn't sharing more, why he isn't chasing the next big opportunity. But he continues to return to the scale. Weeks pass, then months, then years. One day, the moment comes. A full hall, a grand piano, silence. And he plays. Not with flash, not with noise, but with depth. The kind that silences the room. The kind that captures hearts. the kind that only repetition can teach. Not because he was the most gifted, but because he was the most devoted. Now ask yourself, have you repeated your craft enough to deserve that moment? Or are you still hoping for shortcuts? Still switching lanes every time the road gets tough? Still chasing novelty instead of embracing what's necessary? Excellence has never been about speed. It's always been about endurance. The true master isn't the one who burns the brightest. It's the one who burns the longest. The one who stayed when others quit. The one who found joy in the mundane because they knew it was the way to the magnificent. To achieve mastery, you must stop chasing applause. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop measuring your worth by how much recognition you get. True masters don't need the noise. Their work speaks for itself. Their silence carries weight. Their actions flow with wisdom, not gained in a day, but shaped through years of patient repetition. Are you willing to return to your scale, to your blank page, to your brushstroke? Are you willing to repeat when it's dull, to refine when no one is watching, to continue not because the world is cheering, but because you've already decided who you are? Because in the end, it's not the gifted who rise, it's the grounded, the devoted, the ones who do the work, especially when it's not exciting. They're the ones who build while others chase castles in the sky. Mastery isn't a finish line, it's a practice, a quiet rebellion against distractions. It's a daily choice to become great by doing the small things well. So, return to your work. Repeat, refine, and rise slowly, steadily, unshakably. Resilience is the mark of someone who has decided. Don't bounce back from life's storms just because you're naturally strong. You bounce back because, at some point, you made a quiet, unwavering decision. I will not be broken. That choice doesn't make the pain disappear. It doesn't make the road smoother, but it makes you immovable. Not because your body can't be shaken, but because your mind refuses to break. True resilience isn't found in your muscles. It's in your mindset. It's the invisible strength you carry into every tough day. The inner resolve that bends, but never breaks. Resilience isn't some rare trait you're born with. It's a skill, a muscle, a mindset, and it's earned in the trenches of life. Not when everything's going right, but when nothing makes sense. When your back is against the wall and the world gives you every reason to quit. That's when resilience is built. That's when it's tested. And that's when it's proven. When life hits you hard, and it will, you face a choice. You can collapse, or you can build. The person who collapses lets circumstances define them. The person who builds uses those same circumstances to strengthen themselves. The difference isn't fate. It's not luck. It's a decision. The day you decide that nothing will make you quit, even pain starts to lose its grip on you. Pain can only control those who haven't decided yet. Resilience is built just like strength, through resistance. You don't grow stronger by avoiding struggle. You grow stronger by choosing it, by stepping into the fire with your eyes wide open, knowing it's the only way to forge something solid within yourself. You train your mind to stand firm, even when everything else shakes. You welcome the challenge. You stay in the ring. You take the hits. And you stay upright. You don't flinch. You don't run. You fight. Not with anger, but with determination. And every time you endure, every time you don't give in, you earn the right to say, I am the kind of person who keeps going. Picture two people standing side by side, both knocked down by life. The same blow, the same setback. One lowers his head and asks, why me? He gives his pain control over him. He lets hardship define his identity. But the other person lifts his eyes and says, watch me. He feels the pain just as much, but he transforms that pain into fuel, into focus, into progress. And while the first person fades, the second rises. Not because it's easy, but because he's decided. The world may try to convince you that resilience is a rare inner fire, something you're born with. It's not. It's a choice. And that choice is available to everyone, every day. You don't need a perfect past. You don't need perfect conditions. All you need is a decision. A firm, final commitment that says, I will not be broken. What kind of person are you becoming? Have you made the decision to rise, no matter what? Or are you still waiting for the pain to stop before you act? Still hoping life will ease up before you give it your all? Let this be your moment of clarity. Resilience begins the moment you decide that quitting is no longer an option. Not when it's convenient, not when people are watching, but always, especially when it's silent, especially when it's heavy, especially when your heart says, enough, and your mind says, one more step. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fearless. You need to continue. Decide now. Decide clearly. Decide fully. And then rise. You become what you schedule. If you want to change your life, don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect mood. Don't wait for your dreams to carry you. Change your schedule. Your future isn't shaped by what you hope for. It's built by what you do. A person isn't defined by their wishes. They're defined by what they repeat. And your routine, that's where your real identity is formed. People talk about ambition as if it's enough. They talk about goals, visions, breakthroughs, but those things are meaningless without structure. Greatness doesn't come by accident. It doesn't knock on your door because you had a good idea. It only shows up when you've made room for it. Time is the currency of achievement, and your calendar is the blueprint. Every person has 24 hours in a day. No more, no less. But what separates the great from the average is how they use those hours. Some people treat time as if it's infinite, drifting, reacting to every whim. Others, however, guard it as if it's treasure. They give purpose to each hour, refusing to let the day define them. Instead, they define the day. If you want to rise, you must do the same. You must become ruthless with your time, not cold or robotic, but intentional. You wake up with a mission. You structure your hours around what matters most, not what's easiest. You craft your schedule around your calling, not your comfort. How? By anchoring your day with sacred habits. Time for reading to nourish your mind. Time to work without excuses. Time to reflect and sharpen your awareness. These anchors do more than just boost productivity. They build your identity. They say, to the world, this is who I am. This is what I do, no matter how I feel. You begin to live by principle, not preference. Because preference says, I'll do it when I feel like it. But principle says, I'll do it because it's who I am. This is where transformation begins. It's where you stop being driven by emotion and start being guided by intention. Imagine a blacksmith. His work isn't glamorous. It's hot, loud, and repetitive. Yet every morning, he begins at dawn. He lights the forge, lifts the hammer, and works, not because he feels like it, but because the work must be done. His strikes are rhythmic, deliberate, measured, not rushed, not random. And over time, his work becomes visible, strong, and lasting. His power doesn't come from how he feels about the fire, but from how he shows up to it every day. Now ask yourself, have you designed your day, or is your day designing you? Are your hours laid out with purpose, or are you merely reacting to whatever demands your attention? If a stranger followed your schedule for a week, would they become the person you aspire to be? Or would they inherit your distractions, delays, and drifting habits? Here's the truth most people ignore. Your schedule isn't just a list of tasks. It's a declaration of who you're becoming. Every hour tells a story. Every routine casts a vote for your future self. If those hours are chaotic, filled with noise, avoidance, or aimlessness, then that's the person you're building. But when your schedule becomes sacred, when it reflects discipline, clarity, and purpose, you begin to transform. Quietly, powerfully. Your days become tools. Your life becomes a masterpiece in the making. Change your schedule, and you'll change your standard. Change your standard, and you'll change yourself. That's how it works. Not overnight, not with dramatic bursts, but with quiet commitment, day after day. This is your opportunity to stop drifting, to start designing. Look at your calendar, not as a burden, but as a weapon to fight distractions, excuses, and the slow decay of potential. Define your mornings, guard your hours, choose your routines with care, and build your day with the same precision a craftsman gives to his workbench. Because the life you want is already waiting inside the day you design. You rise higher when you expect more from yourself. Most people wait. They wait for the world to recognize them, to reward them, to demand more. They believe that external pressure will push them to become their best. But greatness doesn't work like that. The quiet truth that separates the few from the many is this: you must demand greatness from yourself. Not later, not when life asks for it, but now. High expectations aren't a burden. They are a signal, a message to your soul that says, I am made for more. That voice won't always shout, but it's always there, telling you that good enough is not enough. Potential is not the purpose unless it's used. Your life doesn't rise to the level of your dreams. It rises to the level of your standards. To elevate your life, you must first raise your expectations. You stop settling for average effort. You stop tolerating lazy decisions. You stop hiding behind clever excuses that sound good in the moment, but leave you feeling empty later. You become brutally honest with yourself. You look in the mirror, not to criticize, but to confront and say, that's not my best, and my best is what I owe. You don't owe perfection, but you do owe effort, integrity, and full attention. Because the person who expects more from themselves will get more from life. Not because the world gives it to them, but because they earn it, quietly, consistently, day after day. This begins with the small choices. The early morning when you rise or when you sleep in. The extra rep when no one's watching. The choice to rewrite the page, rework the plan, rebuild the structure. Not because it's broken, but because it's not your best, and you expect better. That's the difference between those who rise and those who repeat. Picture a carpenter building a home. He works alone. He installs a beam, but notices a slight tilt. It's subtle, invisible to most. He could cover it, paint it, and move on, but he doesn't. He tears it down and builds again, stronger, straighter, better. Because he sees it. Because he knows. Because he expects more. That person, the one who holds themselves to a higher standard even when no one else is watching, is rare. They are dangerous because they cannot be swayed by praise or crushed by silence. Their reward lies within. It's the satisfaction of knowing they gave everything, lived by principle, and built something that endures. Ask yourself, what corners have you cut that no one else sees? What moments have you allowed to slip by with the excuse of good enough, because they didn't demand more? And here's the deeper question. Do you believe those small details matter? Because they do. This is the true measure of a person. Not what they do when they're being judged, but what they choose when no one is watching. You become extraordinary not through grand public displays, but through private acts of excellence. You rise not when the world sees you, but when you see yourself. That internal standard, unshakable and constant, becomes your compass. Over time, life starts to mirror this. Opportunities multiply, respect deepens, and confidence grows. Not because life changed, but because you did. The person who demands greatness from themselves is never desperate for approval. They already know who they are. They're not trying to impress anyone. They are committed to being real, being better, being true. So decide today. No more lowering the bar. No more rationalizing laziness. No more hiding behind excuses of, I'm doing my best, when deep down, you know you're not. Raise the bar and rise to meet it. The world may not notice immediately, but you will. You'll feel the difference in the way you walk, speak, work, and lead. You'll build momentum from the inside out, not from the outside in. Over time, others will notice the results, but you'll know they were built brick by brick, in silence, through self-respect and high standards. You don't wait for greatness, you become it. You choose it, you expect it, and you never settle for less. Purpose makes pain profitable. Pain is not always punishment. More often, it is preparation. It's the pressure before the breakthrough, the chisel that shapes the stone, the fire that purifies gold. But there's a crucial distinction. Pain without purpose feels like torment. Pain with purpose transforms you. This is the difference between despair and development. When you don't understand why you suffer, the pain echoes endlessly. But when you attach meaning to it, when you assign it purpose, you step into power. Suddenly, suffering becomes sacred. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start declaring, "This is molding me." Every great person you admire, whether they stood on battlefields, stages, or the pages of history, has walked through fire, but none were merely burned by it. They used it. They allowed the flames to refine them, not destroy them. They turned heartache into hunger and misfortune into meaning. You must learn to do the same. Stop fleeing from pain as if it's an enemy. Face it. Study it. Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Because pain is a messenger. It arrives with sharp lessons wrapped in discomfort. Ignore it, and it will repeat. Embrace it, and it will transform you. Think of a sculptor standing before a massive, untouched block of stone. With every strike of his hammer and chisel, it seems like he's destroying the stone. Pieces fly off. The form is battered. The surface cracks. But this isn't chaos, it's creation. The stone's pain is the price of the sculpture. Without the pain, without the removal of excess, there would be no form, no beauty, no masterpiece. The sculptor keeps chiseling, guided by a vision of what could be, and eventually, what was once raw material now stands as a work of art. That is you. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Your pain is not random. It is a signal that you are in the process of being shaped, that your life is under construction. You are being chiseled into something sharper, something stronger, if you cooperate with the process. Stop seeing every setback as sabotage. Stop thinking of every failure as a final sentence. See them instead as sacred shaping. Feel the sting, but stay the course. Endure the breaking, but keep building. Let your wounds become wisdom. Let your struggles give birth to strength. Here's what most people forget. Pain is not permanent, but the lessons it offers can be if you don't run from them. The person who avoids pain becomes soft, fragile, and easily broken. But the person who leans into pain, learns from it, and lives through it becomes durable, deep, unshakable. Your pain is asking you one question. Will you let me shape you, or will you run from me? The answer to that question determines your future. What are you carrying right now? What burden is weighing on your back? What loss still hurts deep in your chest? What regret keeps you up at night? Don't ignore it. Examine it. That pain you're feeling? It might be the price of your calling. It could be the evidence that you're being prepared for something greater. That pain, when harnessed, can give you a voice, a purpose, a mission. Pain doesn't leave you the same. It either breaks you or builds you. Choose to let it build you. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it strip away your excuses. Let it wake you up to the time wasted, the choices delayed, the dreams neglected. Let it ignite something inside you. There is sacred energy in suffering if you learn to use it. Think of coal deep underground, under immense pressure and complete darkness. Over time, it becomes a diamond. The pressure didn't destroy it. It refined it. The coal didn't understand the process, but the process understood the coal. That's you. Right now, you might feel like you're still in the dark, under pressure, still becoming. But if you stay with it, if you keep moving, keep believing, keep surrendering to the purpose behind your pain, you will emerge with clarity, strength, and a calling carved in stone. So look pain in the eye and say, "You won't stop me. You will shape me," and let it do its work. 1 hour of deep focus is worth more than 10 hours of distraction. Many people are constantly moving but getting nowhere. Their days are filled with calls, checklists, meetings, and motion. They feel busy, worn out, and even proud of their efforts. But at the end of the day, nothing of significance has changed. The wheels are spinning, but the road remains unmoved. This is the great illusion, confusing motion with progress. The modern world rewards quick reactions, but greatness is never reactive. Greatness is built in solitude, in silence, and above all, in focus. Not partial focus, not divided attention, but deep, undistracted, deliberate work toward a clear goal. And that doesn't require a lifetime. It just takes 1 hour. One focused hour a day, with intention and intensity, can move mountains while others are still chasing trivial distractions. The person who understands this becomes dangerous because they no longer need the perfect day, the perfect mood, or the perfect setup. They need only that 1 hour. And when they claim it, guard it, and show up with intention, they unlock what others are still searching for: momentum. While others scatter their energy across distractions, they concentrate theirs into a single beam of focus that cuts through everything in its path. This is how transformation begins, not with endless hustle, but in quiet focus. When you train yourself to sit with one task, ignoring the pull of the world's demands, and give everything you have to that one thing, you tap into a different kind of power. It's not loud, it's not glamorous, but it's real. And real work, over time, compounds into greatness. Picture a writer who rises before the world. The house is still, the light dim. He lights a lamp, pours a cup of coffee, and opens his notebook. For the next hour, he writes. No distractions, no excuses, just words. Page after page, morning after morning. No grand breakthroughs on any single day, but after months, the book is finished. And the world sees genius. What they don't see is the quiet hour he protected, day after day. This is what you need to create for yourself, your own sacred hour. Not because you feel inspired, not because you have extra time, but because your dream deserves that level of respect. If your goal is worth pursuing, it's worth dedicating that one focused hour to it. Not just once, but every single day. Repetition is where power resides. You may say you're too busy, but ask yourself, busy doing what? How many hours have slipped away due to scattered thinking, incomplete tasks, or distractions? How many days have been wasted because your mind was in too many places at once? The answer isn't more time. It's a better use of time. And that starts with the discipline to claim just 1 hour, to close the door, mute the noise, and let the world wait. Because in that hour, you don't just work, you become, you shape your future, you refine your thoughts, you build a reputation with yourself that says, I follow through. Something powerful happens when you make that commitment. Your mind learns to enter deep focus faster. Distractions lose their grip. You stop chasing the feeling of productivity and start producing actual results. You realize you don't need motivation. You need intention. And once that hour becomes a habit, the results will speak for themselves. Over time, you won't just change what you accomplish. You'll change who you are. You'll become sharper, more capable, and more calm. You'll stop wasting energy on countless distractions and focus on what matters most to your mission. This is how leaders are made. Not through chaos, but through calm concentration. Not in bursts, but in rhythm. One focused hour a day can change your income, your health, your influence, and your legacy. But only if you protect it like it matters, because it does. In a world addicted to motion, the person who masters stillness, who goes deeper while others stay shallow, becomes unstoppable. So the question isn't, do you have time? The real question is, will you give your hour the respect it deserves? Because if you do, everything else will rise to meet it. Your character is built when no one is watching. If you want to be trusted, respected, and followed, forget about performing for others. Forget about seeking applause. Forget about the polished version of yourself you present to the world. If you truly want deep, lasting respect, not the kind that vanishes in absence, but the unshakable kind, you must start with the person you are when no one is watching. This is your true self. Not the one curated for public approval, not the version you modify to fit social expectations, but the one who makes decisions in private. The one who chooses in the quiet moments. That version of you, unseen, uncelebrated, unfiltered, is the foundation of your character. Character isn't forged in the spotlight. It's created in the shadows. It's born in those quiet, lonely moments when there's no audience, no applause, no reward. There's only a choice. Do what's right, or do what's easy. Be honest, or comfortable. Finish, or forget. Rise, or roll over. These are the moments that shape you. When you do the right thing in private, when you put in effort that no one will see, fix mistakes that no one will find, or tell the truth when lying would be easier, you're building something far greater than an image. You're building character, and character is the real currency of trust. Reputation is how others see you, but character is who you actually are. And the person with character never has to beg for trust. People feel it in their presence. This character isn't built through grand gestures. It's in the small, quiet habits. Putting things back where they belong. Keeping your word even when it costs you. Choosing to show up even when no one notices. Doing the job right, not just when people are watching, but especially when they're not. These may seem trivial, but they are everything. Because they tell your soul, I can be counted on. And when your soul believes that, others will eventually believe it too. Imagine someone working alone in a dusty workshop. No one will ever see the work they do. But they find a small mistake. It's minor, barely noticeable. They could ignore it, but instead, they fix it. Not because they have to, but because something inside them requires it. That's the person who becomes a leader. Not because they declared it, but because they proved it quietly when no one was watching. This is where real strength begins. This is where leadership is born. Not from titles or followers, but from a long string of silent victories over laziness, dishonesty, and mediocrity. So ask yourself, when the room is empty, when the praise is gone, when the test comes in silence, who are you? Are you the person who cuts corners when no one's looking? Who tells half-truths to avoid discomfort? Who pretends when pressure arrives? Or are you the person who stands tall even when it hurts? Who acts with integrity in the shadows? The answer to that question defines your life. Because no matter how good you are at pretending, eventually the truth will come out. Life will challenge you. A crisis will come. And when it does, you won't have time to fake it. You'll only rise as high as your habits. You'll only lead as far as your integrity stretches. You'll only be trusted as much as your private decisions deserve. There's no shortcut to this. You can't talk your way into trust. You live your way into it. So start with your small decisions. Start catching yourself in those moments no one else sees. Start asking, what kind of person do I want to become? And then act like that person, even if no one ever notices. Because eventually, someone will. And more importantly, you will. You'll look in the mirror and see a person you respect, a person you trust, a person you don't have to pretend to be because you've earned them. And that's where it all starts. True greatness is found in the mundane, not the miraculous. It's easy to admire success when it's shining bright, when the speech flows effortlessly, when the product is polished, when the victory is obvious. The world celebrates the finished masterpiece. It claps for the person on stage, for the result that sparkles. But what the world doesn't see are the early mornings when the body is tired but the work still gets done. It doesn't see the thousands of boring repetitions, the quiet sacrifices, the battles fought in silence before the spotlight finds them. True success lies in those hidden hours, in the repetition that goes uncelebrated. The person who wins over time isn't seduced by novelty. They don't need a new challenge every week. They don't chase inspiration like a butterfly flitting from one flower to the next. They're not addicted to change. They're committed to consistency. They become excellent not because they move quickly, but because they move steadily. Day after day, they refine the same tools, walk the same path, repeat the same actions until mastery is inevitable. There's a quiet power in the person who stays loyal to their process. While others crave stimulation, they find satisfaction in simply doing what needs to be done. They eat the same meals to fuel their body. They follow the same schedule to keep their mind focused. They resist the urge to deviate just for entertainment because they understand what many never do. Repetition isn't boring, it's discipline in motion. Success doesn't belong to the person who works hard only when they feel like it. It belongs to the person who shows up even when they don't feel like it. This person paints the wall even when no one is watching, lifts the weight when the gym is empty, write the page even when the words feel stiff. Greatness isn't about intensity for a moment. It's about devotion over time. And this devotion is built by honoring your process. You stop seeing your daily actions as chores. You start viewing them as rituals, sacred steps that lead you toward your future. You stop trying to skip steps. You stop treating small tasks as though they're beneath you. Because, in reality, there are no small tasks, only small attitudes toward the task. Visualize someone sweeping the floor in their shop. To the outside world, they're simply cleaning. To others, it's just a routine, something to be done. But to them, it's much more. They see preparation, discipline, and order. That clean floor isn't just a space. It's a statement. It says, I care, I'm ready, I take pride in everything I do. That floor reflects their mindset. Now, ask yourself, have you grown bored with your basics? Are you rushing through the small things, eager to get to what feels more important? What if the very repetition you've been avoiding is the key to your progress? What if the habits you've been tempted to skip are actually the bridge between where you are now and where you want to go? Every master was once a beginner who didn't quit. Every craftsman was once clumsy with their tools, but they stayed the course. They didn't abandon the process just because it didn't thrill them. They knew that excitement fades, but skill compounds. And each time they practiced, every time they did the work that others avoided, they built something inside themselves that couldn't be faked. Here's the truth. Success is not a lightning strike. It's a fire built slowly, patiently, one repetition at a time. The spark may come suddenly, but the flame stays only when you continue to feed it. The question is, are you feeding yours, or are you letting boredom steal your progress? Excellence doesn't come from intensity. It comes from endurance. It comes from staying when it's dull, from believing in your process enough to continue, when there's no applause, no rush, and no fresh excitement. Only the quiet, powerful rhythm of repetition. So, respect the basics. Sweep your floor. Do your work with pride, and understand this. The person who becomes great is the one who honors what others overlook. In the end, it's not the glamorous moments that define your life. It's the discipline to keep showing up, especially when it's not glamorous at all. Commitment begins where excitement ends. Everyone is motivated at the beginning. The idea is fresh. The vision is clear. And the excitement feels unstoppable. It's easy to act when everything aligns, when the world seems to nod in approval. But that moment, as sweet as it is, fades every time. When that happens, The difference between continuing to build or starting to break is commitment. Motivation is a spark. Commitment is the fuel that keeps the flame burning long after the initial thrill has passed. Motivation may tell you to start, but commitment tells you to keep going, especially when it's no longer easy, no longer exciting, and no longer new. That's where the line is drawn between those who dream of building and those who actually build. You don't succeed because you feel great every day. That's a myth sold by highlight reels. You succeed because you keep going even when you don't feel like it, because you wake up tired, distracted, uninspired, and still move forward. That's what commitment is. Doing the thing, regardless of how you feel in the moment. And you reinforce that commitment by treating it like a vow. Not a casual promise, not a maybe tomorrow, but a vow, a sacred decision you make that is not open for debate each morning. You don't ask yourself, do I feel like doing this today? You do it because you've already decided. You move because you've vowed to. There's no waiting, no negotiating, no searching for the perfect mood. Picture someone who begins every morning with a cold plunge. No one forces them. No one applauds. But every day, without fail, they lower themselves into freezing water, not for pleasure, but for proof. It's a ritual that says, I command my life, not my comfort, not my feelings. Me. The water is always cold. The body never wants it. But they do it anyway, because they've decided that feelings aren't the compass. Commitment is. That is the mindset you need to build something that matters. Life will test you. There will be weeks when your body aches, days when you're tired, distracted, and uninspired. The world might not seem to care. The question is, will you keep going, or will you give in? The person who endures the struggle and shows up despite it is the one who builds greatness. That's how you forge your legacy, by choosing commitment, even when the road is tough. There will be seasons when nothing seems to work. There will be days when you feel invisible, unmotivated, discouraged, or lost. And in those moments, if you rely on motivation alone, you will fall. You will make excuses. You will delay. You will drift. But if you've built your life on commitment, you won't need to feel strong to act strong. You'll just act because commitment isn't a feeling. It's a standard, a line drawn in the sand. You honor it because you said you would. And every time you do, you gain power. Not the loud kind, but the quiet power that says, I trust myself. That trust becomes everything. Because when you keep your word to yourself, your life begins to change. Not because things magically become easier, but because you become more stable, more dependable. You stop questioning whether you'll follow through because you already know the answer. The people who win in the long run don't always move the fastest, but they always keep moving. They understand that storms will come, that boredom will arrive, that novelty will fade, but they don't flinch. They don't fold. They don't surrender their standards to their emotions. When the world presses you, when you feel like giving up, that's when your true strength shows. The ones who succeed long-term don't let their circumstances dictate their actions. They keep moving forward, even when they feel the pull to stop. They remain committed to their mission, their process, and their integrity. And this is how you too will forge a legacy that lasts. You must ask yourself, are you living off motivation, or are you living off commitment? When the excitement fades, when the fire dies down, what will carry you through? When the path gets tough, when progress seems slow, that's where the test lies. When the applause is gone, when the results are delayed, when the doubts start creeping in, what remains? The answer to that question is what separates those who dream from those who win. Make the decision to be the one who decides once and honors that decision every day. Treat your commitment like sacred ground. Don't hesitate. Don't question it every morning. Just act. Keep moving. Keep showing up. Because here's the truth. When motivation dies, commitment must rise. And if you've built your life on commitment, on routine, resolve, and personal vows, then nothing, no feeling, no failure, no fear can stop you. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to remember your vow. You don't need permission to start. You only need courage. Too many people spend their best years waiting for the perfect moment, the right feeling, or someone else's approval to say, "Now is your time." They wait for support, for encouragement, for the world to show them that it's okay to begin. In the meantime, years pass, opportunities fade, and worst of all, confidence withers. Nothing grows in hesitation. Nothing changes until you decide, "I'm starting now." There's a dangerous myth that you need to be fully ready before you act, that you need permission, applause, or a guarantee that things will work out. But those are illusions. The people who build meaningful lives don't wait for the world to open the door for them. They build their own door. They understand that action births clarity. The first step doesn't require a perfect map, only courage. This kind of courage isn't loud. It's not reckless. It doesn't show up in dramatic gestures or bold announcements. More often it whispers, "I may not know the whole path, but I'm taking the next step." It's steady, quiet, and rooted in purpose. It's the courage that gets up at 5 a.m. to work when no one's watching. It's the courage to say no to distractions and yes to responsibility. Not for praise, but for purpose. This courage is built in private, before the world notices, before the applause, before anyone sees. It's the kind of courage that says, "This is my mission," and then follows through with it, regardless of who's watching. There's something immensely powerful about quiet commitment. It builds momentum, even when no one sees it. It doesn't beg for validation. It earns it. When the fruits of that private labor finally emerge, the world is left in awe, forgetting that it all started in silence. Picture a person in their workshop, alone. No investors, no customers, no press, just sweat and sawdust. But they keep building, day after day. While others laugh or wait for the perfect conditions, they stay committed. Not because someone told them to, but because they decided to. And one day, the barn becomes a business. The business becomes a name. The name becomes a legacy. This is how real things are built. In stillness, in solitude, and with action. Not for applause, but with commitment. The hard truth is this: if you're waiting for someone to give you the green light, you've already surrendered your power. No one else can hand you your mission. No one else can unlock your future. That's your job. And it all starts the moment you stop waiting and begin walking. Ask yourself, what dream have you delayed because you didn't feel ready? What project has remained untouched because you're afraid it might fail? What idea did you abandon because the world didn't cheer for it? Now, flip the question. What might you become if you gave yourself the green light? If you stopped stalling and just began, not perfectly, not completely, just started. One step, one decision, one act of courage at a time. Your life is not waiting on the world. It's waiting on you. This is not about recklessness. It's about responsibility. The responsibility to move forward even when the outcome is uncertain. To build, even when no one's watching. To believe in your calling, even when the world is silent. That's leadership. That's ownership. That's manhood. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You don't need 1,000 followers or a fancy degree. You need conviction. And you need it now. Stop hiding behind preparation. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions. They never will be perfect. The moment you act, you start shaping those conditions. You don't wait for momentum. You create it. Write the first page. Make the first call. Lift the first weight. Build the first piece. Risk the first rejection. These are not small acts. They are everything. They are the proof that you've stopped waiting and started becoming. You may not see results right away. That's okay. It's not about speed, it's about signals. Every action you take sends a message to your mind, to your soul. I am in motion. I am no longer stuck. And that signal compounds. It creates strength, focus, belief. So, if you've been waiting for the sign, here it is. You are the sign. Your courage is the signal. Your commitment is the green light. You don't need permission. You need to move quietly, decisively, and faithfully. And one day, after the long hours, the lonely reps, and the silent beginnings, they'll ask how you did it. And you'll know the answer. You stopped waiting, and you started building. The journey doesn't reward those who start fast. It rewards those who never stop. Keep showing up. Keep sharpening your edge. Keep walking forward, even when the path is quiet. Because consistency isn't just a habit. It's a weapon. Use it daily, and you won't just win once. You'll win forever.